The year was 2157. Humans looked up at the stars with hope and wonder. They had just joined the Galactic Council, a group of alien races that ruled the Milky Way. It was a big day for Earth. People celebrated in the streets. They thought they were entering a new age of peace and progress. John Smith, a young diplomat, stood in the grand hall of the council's main building. He felt small next to the tall, strange-looking aliens. Some had blue skin, others had 4 arms. One even looked like a walking tree. John straightened his tie and took a deep breath. He was here to represent Earth. "Welcome, humans," said the council leader, a being made of shimmering light. "We are glad to have you join us." John smiled and bowed. "Thank you. Earth is honored to be here." But not everyone was happy. In a dark corner, a group of council members whispered to each other. They were the corrupt ones, the greedy ones. They had heard about Earth's resources, its water, its minerals, its diverse life forms. They wanted it all for themselves. "The humans are weak," one of them hissed. "We should take their planet now, before they grow stronger." The others nodded. They began to plan. Months passed. Earth shared its culture and technology with the galaxy. Humans made friends with many alien races. They learned new languages, tasted strange foods, and saw incredible sights. It seemed like a golden age. But the corrupt council members were busy. They spread lies about Earth. They said humans were dangerous. They claimed Earth had a deadly virus that could kill all alien life. It wasn't true, but many believed it. One day, without warning, it happened. The Galactic Council turned on Earth. Thousands of spaceships appeared in Earth's sky. They were huge, dark, and shaped like knives. People looked up in fear and confusion. What was happening? Before anyone could react, the ships attacked. They fired giant lasers that cut through cities like paper. They dropped bombs that shook the whole planet. Millions died in the first hour. The world's leaders tried to fight back. They launched missiles and sent up fighter jets, but Earth's weapons were too weak. They couldn't even scratch the alien ships. John Smith was in New York when it happened. He watched in horror as the city burned. Tall buildings fell like dominoes. People ran screaming through the streets. "Why?" He shouted at the sky. "We were your friends." But there was no answer, only more destruction. In London, a young scientist named Sarah Chen worked frantically in her lab. She had been studying alien technology. Now she used that knowledge to send out a warning. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen," she said into a global broadcast. "The Galactic Council has betrayed us. They are destroying our cities. If you can hear this, get to safety. Go underground. We will find a way to fight back." All over the world, people heard her message. Some ran to subway tunnels. Others hid in old bunkers left from past wars. Families grabbed what food they could and fled to caves and remote areas. The attack lasted for 3 days. When it was over, Earth was a different place. Great cities were now piles of rubble. Forests were burned to ash. The oceans were full of oil and debris from sunken ships. But humans were not destroyed. Deep underground, in hidden places, they survived. And they were angry. John Smith found himself in one of these underground shelters. He looked at the scared, dirty faces around him. He saw fear, but also determination. "The council thinks they've won," he said to the crowd. "They think they've beaten us. But they're wrong. We're still here, and we will have our revenge." The people cheered. In that moment, the human resistance was born. Far above, the council ships left Earth's orbit. They thought their work was done. They didn't know that their actions had awakened something powerful and dangerous. Humanity's fury. The real war was just beginning. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council's attack. The world above was in ruins, but deep underground, humanity survived. In an old military bunker near what used to be Chicago, Dr. Sarah Chen looked at her computer screen. She had dark circles under her eyes. She hadn't slept well in weeks. "Any luck contacting other shelters?" John Smith asked. He had found his way here after the attack. Sarah shook her head. It's hard. Most of our satellites are down, but I think I've found a way. She typed quickly on her keyboard. Suddenly, a map appeared on the screen. It showed tiny lights all over the world. Each light is a shelter, Sarah explained. There are more survivors than we thought. John leaned closer. Can we talk to them? Sarah nodded. I've created a secure network. We can send messages, maybe even video calls. For the first time in months, John smiled. This changes everything. We're not alone anymore. Over the next few days, Sarah and John contacted other shelters. They learned that millions of humans had survived. Some were in underground cities. Others were in hidden mountain bases. A few were even in underwater habitats. But surviving wasn't enough. People were angry. They wanted to fight back. In a video call with leaders from other shelters, John spoke. We need to unite, he said. We need to form a resistance. A woman from a shelter in Africa agreed. But how? We have no weapons that can hurt their ships. That's when Sarah had an idea. Maybe we don't need to match their technology, she said. Maybe we can use it against them. She explained her plan. During the months underground, she had been studying pieces of alien tech left behind after the attack. She thought she could hack into their systems. If we can control their weapons, she said, we can turn them against the Council. People liked the idea, but they needed more than just weapons. They needed an army. That's where Maria Torres came in. She was a former military general, now leading a shelter in South America. I can train people, she said. We'll make soldiers out of survivors. As the humans planned, something strange was happening on the surface. Animals and plants were changing. The alien attack had spread weird energy all over the planet. This energy was making Earth's life evolve fast. One day, a scout came back to the Chicago shelter with news. You won't believe what I saw, he said. A group of wolves. But they were different, smarter. They helped me escape from a council patrol. Similar reports came in from around the world. Birds that could understand human speech. Plants that moved and fought like soldiers. It seemed Earth itself was joining the resistance. Sarah studied these changes. She thought humans might be evolving too, but more slowly. We might develop new abilities, she told John. Things that could help us fight. As weeks passed, the resistance grew stronger. Maria trained a new army. Sarah and her team made progress on hacking alien tech. John coordinated between shelters, forming a global network. They called themselves the Terran Legion. Terran for Earth, Legion for their unity. One evening, John found Sarah working late in her lab. You should rest, he said. Sarah looked up from her work. I can't. Not yet. I think I'm close to cracking their communication system. If I do, we can listen to the Council's plans. John put a hand on her shoulder. You're amazing. You know that. We'd be lost without you. Sarah blushed. We're all doing our part. I just hope it's enough. It will be, John said firmly. Humanity has faced tough times before. We always survive. And this time, we'll do more than survive. We'll win. As they talked, a message came in. Maria's face appeared on a screen. She looked excited. We're ready, she said. The first units of the Terran Legion are trained, and you won't believe what they can do now. John and Sarah shared a look. It was time. The resistance was ready to take its first steps towards fighting back. The Galactic Council thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming. The old sports stadium was now an underground training ground. Hundreds of people moved in perfect sync, practicing fighting moves. These were the first soldiers of the Terran Legion. General Maria Torres watched with pride. They're ready, she said to John and Sarah, who stood beside her. John nodded. Good, because we have our first target. Sarah pulled out a tablet. On it was a map of a nearby city. The council has set up an outpost here, she explained. It's small, but important. They use it to monitor Earth. Can we take it? Maria asked. I think so, Sarah said. I've managed to hack into their systems. We can shut down their defenses for a short time. John looked at the soldiers training below. Let's do it. It's time to show the Council that humanity isn't beaten. The next day, as the sun set, the attack began. A team of 50 Legion soldiers, led by Maria, approached the alien outpost. They wore armor made from a mix of human and alien tech, designed by Sarah. As they got close, Sarah, back at the base, activated her hack. The outpost's lights flickered and went out. Now, Maria whispered into her radio. The soldiers moved in. They were faster and stronger than normal humans, thanks to the strange evolution happening on Earth. Some could even do things that seemed impossible before. One soldier, Tom, could control plants. He made vines grow quickly, tangling up alien guards. Another, Lisa, had developed incredible strength. She tore through metal doors like they were paper. The aliens were caught by surprise. They had thought humans were weak and beaten. They weren't ready for this new, evolved humanity. In just 30 minutes, the outpost was under human control. Maria's team had captured alien weapons and tech. Best of all, they now had access to the Council's local communication network. Back at the base, everyone cheered when they heard the news. John hugged Sarah tightly. You did it, he said. Your hack worked perfectly. Sarah smiled, but looked worried. This is just the beginning, she said. The Council will respond, and they'll be angry. She was right. Within hours, alien ships appeared in the sky above the captured outpost. They started bombing the area, not caring about their own base. But Maria and her team were ready. They used the alien weapons they had captured. To everyone's surprise, the human soldiers could use them better than the aliens themselves. Tom used his plant-controlling powers to create a thick canopy of trees over the outpost. This hid them from the alien ships. Lisa used her strength to operate a massive alien gun, shooting down enemy fighters. After a fierce battle, the alien ships retreated. The humans had won their first real victory against the Galactic Council. News of the victory spread quickly through the Resistance network. More people came out of hiding to join the Terran Legion. Hope, which had been in short supply since the invasion, began to grow. In the following weeks, the Resistance struck more alien targets. Each time, they captured more tech and learned more about their enemy. Sarah worked day and night to understand and improve the alien technology. One day, she made a breakthrough. I've cracked their FTL communication system, she told John excitedly. FTL meant faster than light. We can now listen to messages from across the galaxy. This was huge. Now they could hear the Council's plans before they happened. They could prepare and defend themselves better. But with their successes came new dangers. The Council was starting to take the human threat seriously. They sent more ships, more soldiers. John knew they needed to do more. We need allies, he said in a meeting with Resistance leaders. There must be other races out there who don't like the Council. We need to find them. Sarah nodded. With the FTL comm system, we might be able to reach out to other planets. But it's risky. We could expose ourselves. It's a risk we have to take, John said. The others agreed. As the meeting ended, John looked around at the determined faces, humans from all over the world, working together. Some with new, strange abilities, all fighting for Earth's freedom. He felt proud. The Galactic Council had tried to destroy humanity. Instead, they had united it, made it stronger. The real war was just beginning. But for the first time, John felt sure that humanity could win. The room was dark, lit only by the glow of screens. Sarah sat hunched over a console, her fingers flying over the keys. John paced behind her, nervous energy radiating from him. Anything? He asked for the 10th time. Sarah shook her head, then suddenly froze. Wait, I think I've got something. A scratchy voice came through the speakers, speaking in an alien language. Sarah's translation program kicked in. Rebels on Zorth 9. Council oppression. Need help. John leaned in closer. Can you respond? Sarah nodded, taking a deep breath. This was humanity's first contact with another alien race since the invasion. Everything depended on this moment. She pressed a button and spoke clearly. This is Earth. We hear you, Zorth 9. We too fight against the Council. There was a long pause. Then, Earth, the quarantine planet. You survive. We do more than survive, John said. We fight back, and we want to help you do the same. Over the next few hours, they learned about Zorth 9. It was a small planet, rich in rare minerals. The Council had been exploiting its people for years. Now, they were rebelling. This is perfect, John said after the call ended. We can help each other. Sarah nodded, but looked worried. It's risky. If the Council finds out. They won't, John assured her. We'll be careful. In the following weeks, Earth and Zorth 9 shared information and strategies. The Zorthians were amazed by humanity's quick adaptation and new abilities. In return, they shared advanced technology that even the Council didn't have. One day, during a secret meeting with Zorthian leaders, something unexpected happened. An old Zorthian approached John and Sarah. I have a secret to share, he said in a whispery voice. There is an ancient race, thought to be extinct. They hide from the Council. They might help us. The old Zorthian gave them coordinates to a distant star system. It was a long shot, but worth trying. Using the advanced Zorthian tech, Sarah sent a message to the coordinates. Days passed with no response. Just as they were about to give up, a reply came. The message was short. We are the Eldari. We have watched. We will meet. The Eldari, it turned out, were as advanced as the Council, maybe more so. They had been hiding for millennia, watching the Council's corruption grow. We cannot fight directly, the Eldari leader told John and Sarah during a secret meeting. It would bring destruction to many worlds, but we can give you the tools to fight. The Eldari provided Earth with technology beyond their wildest dreams. Weapons that could pierce Council shields, stealth systems that made ships invisible, and most importantly, a way to protect Earth from future attacks. But the Eldari warned them, be careful. Power corrupts. Do not become what you fight against. With their new allies and technology, the human resistance grew bolder. They began hitting Council targets across the galaxy. Each victory brought more allies, other races tired of Council rule. John found himself becoming a symbol of hope for oppressed planets everywhere. He traveled in secret, meeting with rebel leaders, coordinating attacks. Sarah, meanwhile, worked tirelessly to integrate the new tech and train others to use it. She also continued to study the changes happening to humans and Earth's ecosystem. I think I know why we're evolving, she told John one night. The Council's weapons, they didn't just destroy. They changed things at a fundamental level. We're adapting faster than any species in history. John nodded, looking out at the stars. We need to. The galaxy's changing. We need to change with it. But with their growing power came new challenges. Some human leaders wanted to use their strength to dominate other races, just as the Council had done to them. We can't let that happen, John said firmly in a heated meeting. We're fighting for freedom, for everyone, not just humans. As the resistance spread across the galaxy, the Council began to panic. They hadn't expected this level of coordination from primitive races. In a secret Council meeting, the corrupt leaders argued. We must crush them now, one said. Use the planet killers. Another disagreed. No, that would turn the whole galaxy against us. We need a subtler approach. In the end, they decided on a plan. They would try to turn Earth's allies against them, spread lies, create distrust. Little did they know, humanity and their allies were prepared for such tactics. The real war was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Terran Legion ship, Hope, floated silently in space. Inside, John, Sarah, and a team of Earth's best soldiers prepared for their most daring mission yet. "Remember," John said, looking at each face, "we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every race oppressed by the Council." Sarah nodded, checking her gear one last time. "The Zorthian intel better be right," she muttered. Their target, a major Council weapons facility on a distant moon. If they could destroy it, it would cripple the Council's ability to make war. As they approached, alarms suddenly blared. "We've been spotted," the pilot yelled. But Sarah smiled. "No, we haven't," she said, pressing a button on her wrist computer. Instantly, the alarms stopped. On the facility's screens, everything looked normal. "The Eldari tech worked," John said, relieved. "They see what we want them to see." The team landed and split up. John led one group to plant bombs, while Sarah took another to steal data. As they moved through the facility, they saw aliens of all kinds working. Many looked unhappy, almost like slaves. The Council doesn't just oppress planets, John realized. They oppress their own people too. In the main control room, Sarah hacked into the system. Her eyes widened as she read the information. "John," she said through the comm, "the Council is planning something big. A weapon that could destroy entire star systems." "Can you stop it?" John asked, setting the last bomb. Sarah's fingers flew over the keys. "Better. I can make it backfire on them." Just then, a group of Council guards burst in. But these weren't ordinary guards. They were huge, with glowing eyes and metal parts. Cyborgs. "New toys," John muttered, raising his weapon. The fight was intense. The cyborgs were strong, but the humans were quick and clever. Tom used his plant-controlling powers to tangle the cyborgs in vines that grew from cracks in the floor. Lisa's super strength let her throw them around like dolls. In the end, the humans won, but not without cost. Several of their team were hurt. As they escaped, the facility exploded behind them. But their success came with a chilling realization. The Council was getting desperate, creating super soldiers to fight back. Back on Earth, the news of their victory spread quickly. More planets joined their cause. The Council's lies about Earth being dangerous were falling apart as people saw humans fighting to free others. But the Council had one last, desperate plan. One day, as John was meeting with alien allies, Sarah burst in. "We've got a problem," she said, her face pale. She showed them a message she'd intercepted. The Council was planning to use their new superweapon on Earth to make an example of them. "We've got 48 hours, Sarah said. John looked at their allies. "We need every ship, every soldier. This is it. The final battle." As word spread, ships from all over the galaxy came to Earth's defense. It was an armada like no one had ever seen. Races that had been enemies for centuries now fought side by side. The Council's fleet arrived, led by a massive ship carrying the superweapon. The battle that followed was epic. Space lit up with laser fire and explosions. On the ground, Council forces tried to invade Earth again. But this time, humanity was ready. Evolved animals fought alongside humans. Plants grew to enormous sizes, swatting enemy ships from the sky. In space, John led the attack on the main Council ship, using the Eldari tech. They boarded it. The fight through the ship was hard. But they finally reached the bridge. There, they found the Council leaders, cowering behind their cyborg guards. "It's over," John said. "Surrender." But the Council leader just laughed and pressed a button. "If we can't have the galaxy, no one will." The superweapon started to power up, aimed right at Earth. Sarah worked frantically to stop it, but it was too complex. Just when all seemed lost, she had an idea. "The Eldari said power corrupts," she muttered. "So let's overpower it." Using the Eldari device, she pumped excess energy into the weapon. It began to glow, then shake. "Everyone out," John yelled. They escaped just as the weapon overloaded. The explosion took out the entire Council fleet. As the dust settled, John looked out at the stars. The Council was defeated, Earth was safe, and the galaxy was free. But he knew their work wasn't done. Now, he said to Sarah and their allies, we build a better future. For everyone. The galaxy would never be the same. But thanks to humanity's spirit and the unity of all races, it would be a better place for all. The great hall was silent. Beings from 1,000 worlds sat, watching. On a raised platform stood the remaining council leaders, once mighty, now in chains. John Smith, hero of Earth, stepped forward. His voice echoed through the hall. Today, we bring these criminals to justice, he said, not for revenge, but for the future of our galaxy. The trial of the century had begun. Over the next weeks, evidence was presented. The Council's crimes were laid bare for all to see. Billions dead, worlds destroyed, races enslaved. Sarah Chen, now Earth's top scientist, presented proof of the Council's plan to use the superweapon. They would have killed us all, she said, her voice shaking with anger. Witnesses from across the galaxy told their stories. The Zorthian child spoke of watching his parents die in the mines. An elderly elder revealed how the Council had hunted their race to near extinction. The Council leaders tried to defend themselves. We brought order to chaos, one said. Without us, the galaxy would fall apart. But their words rang hollow in the face of so much suffering. As the trial neared its end, an unexpected witness appeared. It was a young council member, barely more than a child by their standards. I was born into the Council, she said, her voice soft but clear. I was taught that we were right, that our rule was just. But I saw the truth, the corruption, the cruelty. I'm sorry. So sorry for what we've done. Her testimony moved many. It showed that even among the Council, there was hope for change. Finally, after months of proceedings, it was time for the verdict. The judges, representing every major race in the galaxy, stood. We find the accused guilty of all charges, the head judge said. The penalty is life imprisonment on a barren world, far from any inhabited system. The Galactic Council is hereby dissolved. A cheer went up from the crowd. Justice had been served. But now came the hard part. Rebuilding. John and Sarah led the efforts to create a new galactic government, one based on cooperation, not domination. We need to learn from the Council's mistakes, John said in a meeting with leaders from various worlds. Power should not be concentrated in the hands of a few. They created a system where every world had a voice. Decisions would be made together, for the good of all. But not everyone was happy with this new order. Some wanted revenge against former Council worlds. Others tried to grab power for themselves. One day, a group of extremists attacked a former Council colony. They claimed to be acting in Earth's name. John was furious. He went to the colony himself, facing down the attackers. This is not what we fought for, he shouted at them. We are better than this. We must be better than this. His words, broadcast across the galaxy, reminded everyone of the ideals they had fought for. Meanwhile, Sarah worked on healing the damage done to countless worlds. She led a team of scientists from different races, combining their knowledge. They found ways to clean poisoned atmospheres, regrow destroyed forests, and heal radiation-scarred lands. Earth's evolved plants and animals played a key role, adapted to survive in harsh conditions. One of their biggest projects was restoring Earth itself. The Council's attack had left deep scars, but now, with the help of alien technology and Earth's own remarkable resilience, cities were rebuilt, forests regrew, the oceans cleared. As John walked through a newly restored park in what was once a war-torn city, he marveled at the change. Children played, their laughter mixing with the songs of birds that had evolved to mimic alien languages. Sarah joined him, smiling. It's amazing, isn't it? She said. After all we've been through, life finds a way. John nodded. But our work isn't done, he said. The galaxy is still fragile. We need to stay vigilant. As if to prove his point, a message came through on Sarah's communicator. There was unrest on a distant world. Former council supporters were causing trouble. John sighed, but straightened his shoulders. "Looks like we're needed again," he said. Sarah nodded, determination in her eyes. "Together?" she asked, holding out her hand. "Together," John agreed, taking it. As they headed off to face the next challenge, both knew that the path ahead would not be easy. But they had hope. Hope for a better future. A future they would build, together with all the races of the galaxy. The story of humanity's fury had led to something greater, humanity's compassion. And that, perhaps, was the greatest victory of all. 50 years had passed since the fall of the Galactic Council. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. On a bright morning, an old John Smith stood on a balcony overlooking New Earth City. The city was a marvel of human and alien architecture. Towering spires of glass and metal stood next to living buildings made of evolved plants. Flying cars zoomed between them, their quiet hum mixing with the songs of alien birds that had made Earth their home. Sarah Chen, her hair now gray but her eyes still sharp, joined him. "Ready for the big day?" she asked. John nodded, smiling. "I can't believe it's been 50 years, he said. Today was the anniversary of the Council's defeat, now celebrated as Galaxy Unity Day across thousands of worlds. As they walked to the ceremony, they passed reminders of how far they'd come. A group of Zorthian children played with human kids in a park. An Eldari teacher led a class on advanced physics. Even a few reformed ex-council races had found a place in this new society. The main square was packed with beings from across the galaxy. Some had traveled for months to be here. As John and Sarah took the stage, a cheer went up. John raised his hands for quiet. "Friends," he began, his voice carried by translators to every ear. 50 years ago, we faced our darkest hour. The Council sought to destroy us. But instead, they united us." He paused, looking out at the crowd. "We've come so far since then. We've built a galaxy where all races work together, where knowledge is shared, not hoarded, where strength is used to protect, not dominate." Sarah stepped forward. "Our journey wasn't easy," she said. "We faced wars, plagues, and natural disasters. But each time, we stood together. We found solutions by combining our different strengths and knowledge." She gestured to a group of young scientists. "Today, we have cures for diseases once thought unbeatable. We can travel faster than ever thought possible. And we're exploring parts of the universe we once only dreamed of." John nodded. "But our work isn't done," he continued. "There are still those who remember the old ways, who think domination is the path to greatness. We must remain vigilant." As if on cue, an aide rushed up, whispering urgently in John's ear. John's face grew serious. "It seems we have a situation," he announced. "A group of extremists has taken control of a space station near the galactic core. They're threatening to detonate an antimatter bomb if their demands aren't met." The crowd murmured in concern, but John and Sarah remained calm. "This is a job for the Galactic Peace Force," Sarah said. She turned to a young woman in the front row. "Maria, I believe your team is up for this." Maria Torres, granddaughter of the legendary General Maria Torres, stood tall. "We're ready," she said confidently. "We'll handle this without any loss of life." As Maria and her team rushed off, John couldn't help but feel proud. This was the new generation, raised in a time of peace but ready to defend it. The ceremony continued, but now with a sense of real purpose. This wasn't just about celebrating the past. It was about securing the future. Later that day, news came in. Maria's team had successfully defused the situation. The extremists were in custody, and not a single life had been lost. As John and Sarah watched the news, surrounded by friends from a dozen worlds, John felt a sense of completion. "You know," he said to Sarah, "when we started this journey, I was driven by fury, by the need for vengeance. Sarah nodded. "We all were," she said softly. "After what the council did, how could we not be?" "But look at us now," John continued, gesturing around. "We've built something greater than the council ever did. Not through fear or domination, but through cooperation and understanding." Sarah smiled, taking his hand. "Humanity's fury unleashed something, all right," she said. "But it wasn't just destruction. It was creation. It was hope." As the sun set on another Galaxy Unity Day, John and Sarah looked out at the stars. Once, those stars had seemed cold and threatening. Now they were full of possibility. The galaxy wasn't perfect. There would always be challenges, but as long as the spirit of unity and cooperation lived on, there was hope. Hope for a future brighter than any single race could have achieved alone. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger, and in doing so, they had lifted up the entire galaxy with them. That was the true legacy of humanity's fury unleashed.